So let's go ahead and talk about something, and it's called delayed gratification. So I don't know if you are familiar with the term or not, but if you think about gratification, just being gratified, just being satisfied, and you put the delayed on it, that's you just waiting to be gratified. And so before I knew what this term was, I seen it happening a lot. And so just being in the hood, trapping, doing whatever. There was principles that people, and a lot of times, like gratifying, delayed gratification, you pretty much did things, and I've seen people do it, and they probably didn't understand the term. I didn't understand the term. But when I was in the streets doing what I was doing, I know y'all hear me say I was, selling dope, doing all type of stuff. But like I wasn't like a big time drug dealer or nothing. I was more so nickel and diamond because, I understood some of the rules, but some of the stuff I just, never really comprehended. It really didn't stick in my head. And so, getting to this point in life, I see the way in the streets a lot of people did it was like, you had your pack, you did whatever you did with your pack, but you knew if you wanted them Jordans, you wanted, that extra stuff or whatever, you can't take a pack, go and sell the pack. Say you pull back $150 off this pack or something, right? You couldn't go out and just immediately grab some Jordans. What you had to do was, you got this pack and then you had to use that pack, whatever money you made off of that, and basically go and re-up. You know what I'm saying? So you had to go and get some more, get more, and every time you basically just doubling stuff up until, you able to get on your feet or whatever. But there's a lot of us who didn't understand that. And so every day, we just, for me, I was just hustling blind, doing a lot of stupid stuff. And so pretty much with that, I see it happening as, I've gotten a little older, more matured and stuff. I see that happening in today's time in so many areas that people are basically nickel and diming in life, right? And so what I mean by that is that every time you get your paycheck, you are never thinking about delayed gratification. We get so caught up in social media, seeing all this other stuff, and we want to grab everything that we see, and so we want immediate gratification. So instead of us taking our checks, paychecks, and investing and putting toward things that can bring us more money in, a lot of us are just thinking always like consumers, and so we always just want to get. And so thinking through that, I think that's what really messes us up. And so for me, I'm not the type of person to go out here and get the shoes and different stuff like that. Like I don't spend my money on a lot of fashion type stuff. As you can see, man, I'm always wearing these types of shirts. I got a few shirts. I feel like the Smurfs or something. I only got, a few different outfits and stuff in my closet and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Thing I'll switch up is probably some hats and stuff, right? But I'm not really caught up into a lot of, spending on everything. And I'm not saying that to say I'm better than somebody or whatnot, but that's just not the thing that moves me. What moves me a lot of times is what I see is I've learned to invest in myself. You know what I'm saying? So whether that's going out buying some cameras, going out buying some music equipment, going out buying something, my mind is always thinking, how can I take my money and invest it back into something that can make more money? You know what I'm saying? And so I think what happens is we get caught up in instant gratification and we don't think about the delayed gratification. And I think that's one of the reasons why, with our mind, we continually caught up in just trying to get. And we don't understand that you can still get, but you have to be able to invest in yourself. You know what I'm saying? Invest in what you're doing and make money for you so that you can go and get those things. And so, like I said, it delays that process. Like you may want something today, but how can you make money to make it make sense on whatever purchase you're trying to do, right? And so that's pretty much all I want to say is that, like I know there's a lot of people who look and see some of the stuff that, you know, I have, like my studio equipment and, you know, different things or whatnot, you know, things that I've invested in. People thinking that I just went and just grabbed a lot of this stuff like overnight, and that's not the case. A lot of times I saved up for it. I've done a lot of things or whatnot to get some of the stuff, and I bought pieces, you know, slowly over time to accumulate, you know, a lot of stuff. And so I invest in what I do. I invest in myself. And some of us are not in that position to be able to invest in ourselves because we always continue to fall back into instant gratification. And so that's one of the reasons why you have the credit cards, you know, and credit is not all bad, but if you are buying purchases that are not bringing you stuff in, then those payments that you are doing on your credit card are bad. You know what I'm saying? And so they get us caught up into, here's something that I want and my credit card, I don't have it on me, but I can put it on this credit card. And before you know it, you got thousands of dollars, you know, just piled up in credit card debt that you can never get out of. But we have to stop thinking like, you know, I want everything. And, you know, it's bad because, you know, even in our generation today, there's so much that has us just continuing to go and just try to, you know, get more. You know what I'm saying? So even me, I'm, you know, I think through it. Like even as, you know, I don't take the time to listen to lengthy things. I don't take the time to look at a lot of stuff, but because there's so much information, so much different stuff out there, you know, our minds are getting programmed to want quick, 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 quick. And so I think what we have to do is just understand that, you know, you can still be gratified, right? You can still get the good things, but you should have it on a delay. Like, you know, like you can't get out here and keep up with everything that's going on and still try to do anything that you got to do to invest. But a lot of times we don't have the money to invest is because we done spent all our money buying stupid stuff or whatnot. And so, yeah, so hopefully this is helpful. There's probably a lot of other stuff that I can say about it, but you know, like if we can start practicing delayed gratification, sometimes you realize, you know, whatever it is that you was wanting at that moment, you know, stop wanting it at that moment, wait a little bit, and then see if you really, you know, still want it and stuff. And I think, you know, sometimes one of the things too, real quick, is just our excitement of grabbing something new, right? The gratification is not in the purchase, right? So you can purchase something that you really been wanting. The gratification and the adrenaline gets to pumping because of the thought of making that purchase, right? So after you make this purchase, a lot of times after you make this purchase, you realize, man, this wasn't even nothing. I didn't really need whatever it was, right? And so I think if we can get out of the habit of just going out and just grabbing everything as quick as possible, I think it can help us in a lot of ways. So, you know, anyway, like if you did know this term gratification, delayed gratification, or if you didn't know this term delayed gratification, now you know. And so let's just start practicing some delayed gratification if you want more in life. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah. So like I said, the excitement comes when we pretty much want something, but when we get it, it's not really as, you know, as big as it's cracked up to be. But anyway, I'm Damien, and until the next video, I'm out. Peace.